Happy Monday, everybody. What's going on? It's your boy Kyle along with Neil, who's in a frat home.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm in a frat home. Yeah, that's exactly like literally it's the perfect representation of like either a frat home or like when you just are moving into a new place and you don't have furniture yet and you're like sleeping. I'm literally sleeping on a queen mattress, which is surprisingly comfortable.
Right.
I I'm actually kind of impressed with how comfortable it is. So
Isn't it like
I mean,
eerie too? Like just being in a room where it's like it becomes a lot more noisier, like at night. You know what I mean?
there's a
Even just
lot
with
more.
nothing in there.
Yeah, there's a lot more of an echo in here than what I'm used to. And you guys from last season saw me on here, in this room for many of the episodes. It's just different now because, as I've said before, I'm in the process of moving. If you saw last week's episode, I was in another completely different place. Like, I'm, I'm literally living like from place to place. And guys, I'm not homeless, by the way. Like, don't think that like I'm homeless and I'm like I'm really okay. It's just when you sell your house, it's not always that simple. Let me put it to you that way. Like, and
Yep.
if and anybody who listens, I'm sure can relate to some degree. Especially even in Canada. I mean, I don't know how much different it is in Canada, but in the United States, it's especially nowadays with our government,
Yeah.
it's not always that simple.
I know. Like moving renter to renter is easy. It's just getting your stuff out, and moving your stuff in, right? But
If
like
you're selling
from
it, if you're selling it to another human being, like if you're selling it to another family, it
yeah,
goes a lot easier because
yeah,
there's a deadline for both sides. But if you're selling it to like a real, not like a realtor, like a contractor or something like that,
yeah.
there's a lot more that goes into it that takes way too much time.
My sister went through a realtor. This was what was this like? Just under no, a couple of months ago, and in the
Hmm.
span of 3 days, right through the realtor, they sold their home. They
Hmm.
already had their eyes on the new home, and they already bid for it. They got it
Hmm.
the day after.
Hmm.
Like in 3 days, they sold it and got their new home. It was official, like in writing, and then the day after, they actually were able to move in. So in 3 days, but it was already
I
in writing that they were getting this new house. But in 3 days, they sold it, bought it, moved in.
nice.
It was boom, 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 and they were ready to go. And they
I
were using these like, and I'm sure it's been known too, where they can use pods as well. Like you can rent out like these
right.
massive pods where
Hmm.
you throw all your stuff in. You get a
Yep.
truck company to pick up this pod. They meet you at your new place for whatever city that you're
Exactly.
in, and then they drop it all off and see you later.
100%. Yeah, I wish I could say that it could be that simple on our end, but
That's a
it's
rare
not.
case.
Yeah, sure. I mean I mean going that quickly, I'm sure it doesn't happen to many people, but I think in this situation, not an ideal one, but the really funny part that I laugh about is that next week, if I have time, you're gonna see me in another different place because this upcoming Saturday I'm flying out to California slash Vegas. So I'll be in LA for like 2 or 3 days, and then I'll be in Vegas the rest of the week. I'm actually gonna catch the Golden Knights preseason game against Utah
Sweet.
while I'm there. So I'm looking forward to. I've never been there. Looking forward to it. Should be a lot of fun. I hope so. Um, and then the week after that, I might be back in my aunt's summer home near Atlantic City. So it
That's
just gets
crazy.
every week. That's how I operate nowadays. It's when people are like, "Oh, do you want to do thus and so?" Like in a week, I'm like, I can't tell you because I don't know if I'll be near you or far away.
In a different time zone across a different planet.
So, oh yeah. I mean, I will say
Yeah.
though, because I work for the New York Jets here in the in the NFL. I was a lot closer to the stadium than if I was in Atlantic City. So the drive wasn't as, but there was no traffic, surprisingly. I thought there was going to be traffic, but
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
no.
Well, maybe next Sunday when you get the Chiefs Kingdom coming to come
Well,
to Meadow.
fortunately, I will be in Vegas, so I won't have to worry
Oh yeah,
about
true. You're
that.
not even there for
I'm
that.
not, and that's the Giants too. So I don't work Giants games. So it's
Which is
just the
great.
Jets, which
Nice.
is
Awesome.
fantastic.
Well, not the best news to start off of today, but we did get word pretty recently, as of I think it was maybe about an hour ago.
I would say like a half hour ago.
About a
Yeah.
half hour ago, yeah. Orca Wiseblood, he used to play for the Calgary Hitmen in the WHL. That's why I wanted to just kind of quickly touch upon it.
Sure.
Yeah, he unfortunately passed away in a bad car accident this morning, which sucks. Again, not a lot of people know who he is, but I figure Calgary show, I think it would be better to acknowledge him. You know,
Yeah,
very very sad. He was playing in the ECHL. And some guys have had success stories from ECHL and up, but yeah, taken way too soon. So I just wanted to
Point-
touch upon that and condolences to the family, obviously, and just sucks. 25 years old, man. It's just not. It's not a fun situation. So,
yeah,
not a great start off of the show. A little bit of a somber note, but I just wanted to quickly kind of point that out. So, yeah, again, condolences to the family on that front.
yeah,
Um, Prospects games were this weekend. We had two. We
yeah,
had two games to watch over this weekend, and God, high scoring, and very close too in both
yeah,
games. Um, so we'll kind of touch upon it here in both games. Flames were successful in both games in Edmonton, and then they were obviously in Calgary for the second one there. Um, yeah, I think one of the major standouts, excuse me, from this game, and people were alluding to it, was even beforehand, and I think Neil, you maybe mentioned it
hmm
before games happened, was that man Sam Honzik like all of a sudden put on some weight, and he's a big boy now. He put on like
yeah,
15 pounds, and yeah, he was a difference maker in both of those wins. Against the Prospects, it wasn't a bad weekend. They beat him 5-4 Sunday night in the Saddledome. They ended up winning 6-5 the other night in Edmonton. One player, though, I think that was very well recognized was Matt Begredine. Obviously, you see here Carter King. They're bringing up the five guys here that they thought were big
yeah,
impact players. Adar Suniev actually was another guy who were kind of like jumping on board with because of just, it says it in the article, and I kind of say the same thing here too, where he was just so comfortable in the
yes,
offensive zone, and like he was the one controlling the play a little bit, right? So they talked about Suniev a little bit. The Carter King kid he was credited on a goal by Matt Begredine here with an assist. But I start with Gradine, and like again, it says like he's just so fun to watch, and
hmm
he's a guy that you typically like you just want to see on your roster at some point because he's such a pure goal scorer, and that's something that this team's kind of looking for. So thank you to Vancouver for that number 28 selection in that Elias Lindholm trade. That trade just seems to be getting better and better, and you saw that Gradine
yeah,
had a really great performance there on Saturday and Sunday, and it turned out to be a really great weekend for the prospects. So Suniev and Gradine were definitely on a lot of people's radars. Same thing for Honzik. Neil, I don't know if you had any takeaways from this past weekend's prospects game.
I thought Bushevitz had a really good 2 games, honestly, especially in the first game in Edmonton. I felt like that he really took command of his position. I felt like he was all over the ice. I don't even like it. It just seemed like you were mentioning before with someone else, like he just looked very comfortable,
Mhm.
back there. And I think that gives you a lot of confidence. And again, talking about Hanzik, I mean, I heard it during the broadcast from, I think, the Flames broadcast.
I think it was, yeah.
Yeah, and they were saying that Hanzik put on like 15 pounds, which for someone like him who was like a wet 180 something pounds to get like to almost 200 pounds is a big deal. It doesn't seem
Huge.
like it's but it's huge. And I think for Hanzik, I think why he did that was because I think he takes away from you look at what he did last year in preseason and in training camp, and he really, really impressed the front office to the point where he made the
The
team out of
roster.
team.
He made the
Right,
roster, yeah.
right. But right away, you could tell he looked and acted like he was out of place and trying to get a feel for what was going on. And I'm not saying he needed to beef up physically or anything, but I think he recognized pretty quickly about, like, obviously the level of physicality that even a young player is going to have to face once they get into the NHL on a consistent basis. And I think that Honzik took that to heart and really worked on it this offseason. And it really is impressive to see. I think one of the big questions that we'll have going into training camp is who's going to be the backup goaltender to Dustin Wolf. Because right now, I don't think it's a guarantee that Devin Cooley's going to be the backup. I mean,
They went out. Sorry, they went out and get Provistev. By the way,
they did get Provistev as well.
So he was the guy that they're looking for as the backup. But you're right, like it's still wide open going to training camp.
Right, and then you see some of the young guys that played. Which, by the way, if you're a goaltender,
Say in Sergeyev, sorry.
Yeah, and for goaltending, these two games were a nightmare. Just a lot of craziness, especially in the first game because you were up 6-2 in the third, and I'm thinking like, all right, they're good, and then they slowly started to they slowly were giving up goal after goal. Isaac Howard got one, which like I'll just say really quickly from Isaac Howard, he better be on the Oilers come the start of the season because he looked so out of place in a good way. He looked
Well,
out of place in a
it was funny,
prospect.
like, they were saying, like, "Bro, like, he's gonna be your top 6 player?" Like, he looked out of place a little bit, and I'm like, "Oh,
Yeah,
okay, we'll
well,
see how it goes." Like, maybe it's just one game, but still, like, he
yeah.
did look
Well,
out of place.
you think about Isaac Howard, like he was originally in Tampa, and I think like the way that it was like planned in Tampa was that eventually he was going to get up with the big team, trying to
Right.
get a little bit of a youth movement. But he goes to Edmonton where like they need him basically right away, which for some players that's great because they can just jump right in. But with the expectations that the Oilers have and everything like that, you do wonder if Isaac Howard is ready for that kind of responsibility at such a young age. And look, some guys have it, right? Some guys can just come right in and they just go. They just figure it out right away. And other guys, it takes time. I mean, how many? I mean, I love using the Nathan McKinnon as the prime example of this. Look how many years it took Nathan McKinnon to fully get to the player that he is now. It took him 3 or 4 years. There was a period of time after his second year, Kyle, where people were like, I think the Avs really reached here with Nathan McKinnon. I don't think he's like as good as everybody was hyping. No, he's just a late bloomer.
Right.
And I feel like that's more of a common thing now than it was maybe 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah,
Um,
of course.
but I will say, going back to the Flames, I think the biggest takeaway you can get from this, Kyle, is the Flames have a lot of talent in their prospect system. They have a lot of guys that you can get excited about. Um, I thought Andrew Basha was awesome. I,
Mhm.
Kyle, I really like Basha. I'm like a huge fan
Bosch
of his.
looked
Like
good. Bosch looked
he
good.
looked,
Yep.
he looked confident. That was the
Yep.
big thing for me. He looked confident, and I think that that's really it. And you know what? You know what this tells me? This is going to be a really competitive training camp. Like
And
we thought last
yeah.
year was competitive. I think this year's like I think it's going to take it up
It's a
another
notch.
level.
It's a notch up. I totally agree
Sure.
with that. Yeah, like Bosch is gonna be like I don't think he makes the team, but he's gonna benefit from being in the AHL coming up this year. Like that's gonna be
Sure.
massive for him. Like he needs to
Yeah.
kind of go into that next phase of like okay, let's kind of be at the level with these other guys who are trying to
Yeah.
make that next step. So I like where he's at. You mentioned Brustevich. Yeah, like when they were on the power play, he was definitely doing a great job of like he made some really key passes and he had the odd mistake here and there, but I really thought like he kind of controlled like I'm the quarterback of this power play. And so
Yeah.
watching him was really nice to see the way he was controlling the pace there on the power play, which is kind
Mhm.
of what he's been the specialty I guess for him. So it was nice to see him do that. And then yeah, like Basha looked great too. I think what I
Sure.
was surprised about, like you mentioned Hanzik there, how he gained the 15 pounds. Like people forget, like he had a major injury too at the beginning of the year,
Did-
right? That took him out
did-
for a good chunk of time. And within from that time in point to today, like even throughout the summer, like that just shows like how dedicated he was, right? Like to gain that weight, to get up a little bit more, to be on the same level as some of these other big boys here. So, but you're absolutely right. Like you hit the nail on the head there where last year's training camp was for show for some of these guys. Now, like it's going to be fascinating. It's going to be interesting to watch with Craig because it's like, how dedicated are you
Right.
to these veteran guys going forward? You know what I mean? Like you're
Mhm.
like, I don't think there's going to be a lot of surprises, but the message has stayed the same for Craig. It's give us a reason for us to really think about it, and maybe we have to
Yeah.
sell off a piece all like this early in the year. Like this, it's going to be an intriguing training camp to watch because
Sure.
it's going to be very highly competitive with the guys of like Zane Parekh, with Sam Honzik, who made the team last year, looking to make the team again this year. Some guys who might surprise some people, like a Matt Begradine, right? Who is at the same level there as Zane Parekh. So, I thought he stood out the most, not just goal wise, but he just looked like a sniper out there ready
Yeah.
to strike, and
I
that's
agree.
kind of what the team's been missing a little bit. So No, but you're
100%.
absolutely right. Like I think this is going to be a really really good training camp to watch, and I'm curious to see who rises and who
Yeah, who
sinks a
falls?
little bit. Yeah, so
Yeah, right.
a lot of really good names though to watch for. I think like the guys like you're gonna see like Jacob Battaglia was another name who was out there, and he was fine, right? He's gonna benefit though another year. Like he's gonna be in his last year in the OHL. Surprisingly, he didn't go to the NCAA, but hey, if he finds a way to light it up here in the OHL, which would not surprise me at all, if that'll be a team to watch for me at least in the OHL because I like following it. To see what the Frontenacs do this year with a guy like Battaglia leading the helm.
100%.
He wants to take that next step, right? And he felt
Right.
like where Kingston ended last year with their run, like he was pretty down on himself about what happened there. So, yeah, like
Right.
there's definitely a lot of it's a great young pool to look at. Now it's going to be now the time where it goes up a notch. You go into the training camp phase and go, okay, like who's taking that next step and who are the ones that are going to be sitting in the back
Hmm.
seat?
Yeah, for sure. And I think that, it's we think about what Craig Conroy said last year about, jobs are open, right? And it's all about competition, especially when you're a rebuilding team and you're trying to figure out the guys that are going to be in your foxhole long term. When you have a young team like this, when you have a lot of young guys coming in, you definitely know that these guys are going to want to come and give their best effort. And I think that just makes the rest of the team that much better because it pushes everybody to that same mentality, that same desire of wanting to get there. So I think that it's going to be exciting. And I think that for a lot of these young players who are going to get a chance to go to training camp, even if they're there for only a couple of days, I think it's going to go a long way for them, whether they are on the team, whether in Calgary or in the AHL or back to their junior or college teams. I think it all just goes with the message of compete, compete, compete. I think that, I think we got a trademark, Calgary compete. I think that's kind of
Yeah.
how I look at it because I think that that's what it's going to be about. And even for the veterans, I think it's important. And we saw it last year, right? The amount of games I think about some of the games that they came back and won, and they won that maybe we didn't think they were going to win. And I think that just goes back to training camp and that mindset and that mentality right away. I think if you set it this early on,
Mhm.
I think it can have a positive effect long term. So yeah, I think these two games, it was fun to finally watch some hockey. And yeah, they say not meaningful, but I think it's important. I mean, it is meaningful to the guys that are playing
The wins
and
or
to
losses don't matter. It's
right.
just how it's the look. Like you want to
It's
see how guys
playing.
are looking. Yeah.
Exactly. And the winning does help because if you can play to a level that contributes to a winning cause, that will obviously elevate you as well. So I think winning those games also, I mean, look, it's again,
It's
we're
not
playing Edmonton. So Battle of Alberta twice and we win both games. I'm okay with that. Like, I know it's
a lot of
prospects, but
yeah.
I'm okay with it. I'm satisfied with that. So yeah, I'm really ready for Wednesday. I think Wednesday, right? They
Wednesday.
open
Yep.
up camp Wednesday. Yeah,
Yep.
everybody opens up camp on Wednesday. I'm really excited to get going here because, dude, like we're back. Like we really are back this week. Like now we can really say like
Let's
it's
take
go
a look.
time.
It's go time. Like Wednesday is really go time if you think about
Yeah,
it,
it's go
right?
time.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's funny, like you mentioned the point though, where you think about with the Flames and how they had a lot of comeback wins last year, right? It's kind of almost in their nature that they've done that a couple of times. I think there's just more guys on this team, the veterans on this team, and a lot of the guys who were part of that team at the end of the run last year. They were all thinking the opposite. The losses that got away from
Yeah.
contributing to what could have been the 97 point, like the one more point that would have got you in, right? Like that I guarantee you is weighing on their minds more
Yeah.
than the wins from last year. They're wondering where to get away from us, right? And we talked about it
For
in the
sure.
last episode. So
For sure.
yeah, like everything starts on Wednesday. Yeah, camp opens up and is there somebody that, if you're looking at, I'll give you two players here, somebody that you really think that is going to take this next step for the Flames, and also somebody who you think who might take a step back? It could be a current roster player or somebody trying to make the roster on both sides.
Yeah.
So I'll quickly go first, maybe, and I'll just say,
Yeah.
like, I
Go
think
ahead.
I'm excited to watch Matt Vagradine show up. Like I think he could have a standout camp if he plays his cards right. I think he could have a really standout
Yeah.
camp. He's going to open a lot of eyes for that for management.
Hmm.
Um, One guy who I think might stumble a little bit is possibly a guy like Martin Pospisil. a little bit.
Mhm.
Where, yeah, it's like he signed the new deal and that. Okay, well, he's on this fourth line. It's just tough because last year they had him up on the first line, they had him on the second line, they had him on the third line. Now he's on the fourth line. Now he's projected to be on the fourth line to start the year. And I think what like is he gonna be? He's obviously this big hitter. Like he kind of belongs there on that fourth line, and it's kind of like
Yeah.
identity. But is that going to outweigh maybe some of these other young guys who can just be a little bit more contributing to wanting to play through all four lines, kind of like they did last year, where frankly, he didn't have a great year, but they're looking for him to like kind of prove it with this new deal that he has. So
Sure.
it wouldn't surprise me, the guy like Pospisil. And also, I hate to say it too, this might be Lomberg's last year in Calgary
Mm.
because I think there's so much upside potential on some of these young guys ready to come up. You
Right.
wonder, like, if he's the odd man out, maybe too, because he's on a contract year. And, like some of these other guys too on the third line with Coleman and Backlund, I know they're going to extend him. That's what I hear, that they're going to extend him to another 1-year deal. But you
Yeah.
just wonder, like, some of those guys in the bottom six, like, is it possible that they're an odd man out and somebody just rises to the occasion coming up in training camp?
Yeah, for sure. I think that that's kind of something you certainly have to think about, because when you make it clear that a lot of jobs are open and it's up for competition, I mean, for a guy like Lomberg, I mean, it's a tough position because it is a walk year for him, and you do have these young guys that are coming up that are going to want to take his job. They're going to want to take that spot that he currently owns, because right now it's his spot. I think it's fair to say it's his spot to lose, essentially. And I think if you mentioned it before, right? Like your messaging to these young guys is, give us a reason to keep you on the roster and force us to maybe even sell someone off. Maybe Lomberg's a guy that ends up getting shipped out before the season starts based on
And that's
performance level.
super, like, I don't think that's going to happen, right?
No, but
thinking,
again, yeah.
I'm thinking more or less that this is something that could happen at the end of the year where they may not want to re-sign him because of some of the guys that are ready
Because
to go.
of someone else, yes.
Yeah,
for sure.
That's kind of more what I was alluding to.
Okay,
but
I got you.
Yeah.
I
So,
got you.
did you have any two names that you maybe think of that kind of may stick out
Yeah.
to you up on Wednesday?
Yeah, I think the guy I expect to take a step up is Yegor Sharangovich, because I think from the offense's perspective, he is a key catalyst, because we know the kind of player that he can be when he's on. Go back 2 years ago in his first year in Calgary. He lit it up. He was Sharangovich, as
He was good.
we used to call him in New Jersey. Like, he was literally the guy that we had grown accustomed to seeing. And he is unfortunately very inconsistent, because again, you look at last year, he wasn't the same guy. But I think that you go into this year and you think about the money that he's making and the expectation that is from him. I think he understands that. I think he understands that there was such a difference between some of these wins and losses based on not getting a goal or two. And if you think maybe if Sharangovich in one case or another scored a goal, and I can't think of specific examples, but if you just got a bit more goal support, I think it would have gone a long way last year, and I think it would have ultimately gotten the Flames in the playoffs. But I think Sharangovich, I feel confident that he's coming in very motivated to want to get back to a level that he's been at before, a guy who can put up 25 plus goals and really contribute in all phases, even on the penalty kill as an offensive weapon. So that's the guy that I see taking a step up. A guy who I see taking a step back is probably, and this is a stretch to some people because he wouldn't have a great year last year, but I think it's Michael Backlund, because of the fact that he is getting up there in age. And even though, yes, there are talks about him being extended and everything, and yeah, he's been a Flame for so long and everything like that. It's just, Father Time is undefeated, right? And at some point it catches up to every player. And a lot of the time, the old saying kind of goes, right? To try to move a player a year or two before things really get out of control, because you don't want to be in a position, even financially, where you're paying a guy a decent amount of money and he's not producing at a level that can certainly help this team.
Yeah.
And I just worry about where he fully fits on the team right now, because again, with young players coming up and things like that, maybe that motivates him. Maybe that motivates him as the captain, gets him going. But now we're talking about a guy who last year played a bunch on the top six that is more likely going to play, third line checking bottom 6 minutes. I just don't have the highest of expectations. I'm not trying to say that he's a terrible player now and should be.
He's a locker room guy for sure, which is why
he's a locker room guy. But at the same time, how much of that is going? How much value is that truly if he's not putting in at least a decent amount on the ice, right? And that's kind of the way I look at it. I want him to prove me wrong, but I just worry about it. That's the way I look at it.
And I think a lot of fans are starting to wonder, when does a guy like Mackenzie Weegar become captain? Because he, in my eyes, like, he needs to be captain of this team. Like, you're right. Like, it sucks to hear it because of, like, he's such a long tenured Flame and he's gone through all this crap, right? And, like, there's been a lot of highs and a lot of lows, right? But at what point does it become a business decision and say, like, and maybe it's going to hinge on what happens this year. They're going to watch him this year and go, like, if he comes back for one more year, I don't think it's the end of the world. But at what point is it just like, okay, like, we have ran this course for as long as we could.
We've done this before.
Yeah. Give him the benefit of the doubt, like, go get a chance to win a cup and at least give him that, And maybe they decide, like, they won't do that this year, I don't think, right? But if he extends next year, at least that maybe at some point in March you get something super, super small back and you give him a chance to go win a cup, like, you give him the due diligence to do so. And I mean, I think they're really watching for that. And that's something that I think that's definitely on their mind going into this training camp with a lot of these younger guys coming in. It's like, how much are they really outpacing a guy like Michael Backlund? How much more do they have more of that pep to their step against a guy like him, right? So, he's certainly a guy that, sure, it could go a little downhill, but how much going into the year? Is it a little bit where they think this isn't really a big deal, or has it become concerning to a level where maybe some of these other guys need to take a look at this spot here and they don't decide to extend him next year? So a lot of, I think the most intriguing thing going into this is that everybody's got a story and everybody's got a reason, their own reason, just like any other team here. More specifically with this team, like, everybody has a reason to be on this team, right? Sure. And I think you can get an idea of why they should be and why they're contributing slowly to that. So, yeah, so training camp opens up on Wednesday. Football news, Neil Jaden Daniels has a knee sprain, apparently. Ooh, that's not good.
I love that. Love hearing from fantasy football. I really love to hear that.
I crushed it this week, by the way. I had like 140 points. It was crazy.
I thought you got eliminated.
No, so I'm in my other one, which is it's nothing. But I was just, because I didn't even bother looking at the draft. So it is what it is.
I mean, that's that's fair. It's also, I think, aren't we like close to the CFL playoffs? Aren't they like coming up soon? I think they are, right?
We are.
I think we'll see what the Stampeders can do down the stretch here, I guess.
So they're kind of in prime position to host the West semis against Winnipeg. And then you go to Saskatchewan. Winner goes to Saskatchewan on the West.
Winner has to go play the Rough Riders, who have had a great year
in Saskatchewan too, which is like tough.
It's a tough place to play because guess what? There ain't nothing much else going on in Saskatchewan.
People will say it. It's a brutal place to play because everybody bleeds green and everybody goes wild for their
the whole city stops and wait when it's game day because it's like that.
Man, that's how they roll.
Right. No disrespect to the Blades, the Saskatoon Blades, but come on, man. That's what it is. So, I mean, so we'll see. But I think also, by the way, we were talking at the beginning of the show, one of a former New York Rangers goaltender also passed away today at 86. I'm forgetting the name off the top of my head.
Hall of Famer, I
believe. It starts with a G.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I'd have to look and see. I can't remember.
Call myself a hockey fan. I don't know what I'm talking about. Like, this is nuts.
Well, if you want to know, CHL, OHL season begins for us on the 19th. So this Friday, it all starts.
It's nuts, dude. I mean, it's nuts.
We're back.
Yeah.
We're back. I will read a quick ad here, and then I got a topic for you after the break here.
I feel like I might know what it's about, but we'll see.
Okay. Well, hockey is back. But football is back too, and so is your shot at big wins with DraftKings Pick 6, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL. Your game day instincts can score you real money fast. Here's the play. Just pick more or less on 2 or more player stats, from breakout rookies to elite quarterbacks, and unlock the upside every snap brings. The better your calls, the bigger your payout. I probably could have got a good one off of Malik this weekend. Definitely. Malik Neighbors. I got
You
him.
think maybe?
Yeah, definitely would have got a good
Great
kickoff of that for sure.
So,
And the kickoff bonus is the new DraftKings customers get $50 in bonus picks and just a $5 entry on your first Pick 6 set. This season, play your player instincts. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app now and use code THPN. That's code THPN. You play just $5 and get $50 in Pick 6 bonus picks. Make the call. Ride the upside. It's in partnership with DraftKings Pick 6. The crown is yours. And if you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 800-GAMBLER, 777, excuse me. Or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 plus. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited once per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick 6 bonus picks that expire in 14 days. Limited time offers. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos. Definitely butchered that in the middle. That's okay.
We've definitely lost money off of just that for sure. No, I'm just kidding.
I don't count that.
Yeah, I know. You're gonna cut that out of the. You're gonna cut that out of the episode when it comes out later today.
All right, Neil. You ready for this one?
Let's do it.
Okay, let's do it. Big news came out late last week that really got the hockey world talking, and I think it's only appropriate that we discuss it as well. So, the players that were in the Hockey Canada sexual assault trial that took place over the summer, they were eventually found not guilty by a judge and not the jury, as it was the judge alone. It was announced late last week that the players can sign with a team starting on October 15th, but they cannot play NHL games until December 1st. So just a refresher on the names as well, too, who went through that trial. Again, they are all UFAs going up until at the very least October 15th. If you guys can see it on the screen here, you got from the left to the right here, Carter Hart, Alex Fermenton, Cal Foote, Michael McLeod, and Dylan Dubé. So it definitely sparked debate late last week. A lot of different sides to the opinion here of was this the right call by the NHL to bring them back? Was it not the right call? Should they even be considered to come back here? It's a very difficult conversation, but I feel it's important that we at least talk about it. So I can start if you want, or unless you feel like you want to chime in first.
I mean, I'll say this, right? The way that I look at it is they are not guilty in the eyes of the law. That's how let's start with that, right? So in that, you look at it from just that perspective, your interest in signing someone from this situation. I mean, at the end of the day, you're signing someone that was found not guilty by a judge, which is different than someone being than a jury, right? I think that tells a lot, in my opinion. I think one thing that people are not talking about enough, though, Kyle, is this. These 5 players have not played super competitive hockey in about almost 2 years at this point.
2 to 3 years, yeah.
2 to 3 years. So, and again, as I've mentioned before, Father Time is undefeated. I think the question you really have to ask, other than obviously, what do you want to take the public, I guess you'd call it criticism, right? If you do sign one of these guys, is how effective can they really be at this point, right? Because if you go through these 5 players, Carter Hart is the biggest one in terms of name, in terms of ability. He's a goaltender. And look, there are teams out there that need a goaltender. And I think the 2 teams that stand out the most to me right now are his former team, the Philadelphia Flyers, and I think the Edmonton Oilers too. I think the Oilers
brought up. Yeah.
I think the Oilers are definitely going to consider it for sure. I do not believe for a second that they won't. With Cal Foote, I mean, he was an extra defenseman for the most part. It's not like he was playing top 4 minutes here. So sure, you could sign him as a depth piece, not going to play very well. Michael McLeod, and I mean, this is obviously more personal to me from New Jersey's perspective. He became a very reliable fourth line center. I mean, he was great on the faceoff dot. I mean, to the point where the Devils would throw him out there to start overtime just to win the faceoff and then immediately skate back to the bench so that they could put in whomever, Jack Hughes or whatever. He was a very good penalty killer, brought a lot of speed. He was called Motor Mike for a reason. I just don't know because he's a fourth liner. So again, what is his value at this point, right? And then I think if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, Kyle, Alex Fermenton was not even playing in the NHL when this happened.
He was in Europe. He did play for the Senators for a short period of time,
right?
Then went into Europe before the allegations came
out. And was also not Dylan Dubé as well?
Dylan Dubé was a part of the Calgary Flames when the allegations came out.
Right. So I think that's kind of the weird thing about this is that on one hand, one part of it is, are you prepared, whatever team it is, are you prepared for what could come from doing this?
What will come.
What will come, yes.
Yeah.
Sorry, what will come, because it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Number one, are you prepared for that? Number two, what kind of value are you putting on these players from just a playing standpoint? Can that, and I think that's going to be a good question, because how much playing and practicing and everything like that have they gotten up until this point? Now, once they sign, because honestly, at this point, Kyle, I would be shocked if October 15th comes around and not a single one of them is at least signed, because I think it's going to happen. Are they going to get a lot of time to prepare? Because, I mean, obviously they won't be able to play the first 2 months. How much of that are they going to be able to? Are they going to be able to practice?
They will be able to practice. Yeah.
All right. So at least there's that. But especially for Carter Hart, who will have to sit the first two, and a goaltender going in cold, I don't know, man.
Well, for Carter Hart, he's not a starting goaltender. If the situation does come out where he does sign with a team,
he's not a starter.
Will not be a starter, and if anything, he might find time in the AHL to get games in.
I think that should be the case for a lot of these guys personally. If you're going to do this, I think you gotta do that. So I'll end it by saying this. I still feel uncomfortable with attempting to sign these guys for the two reasons that I just mentioned.
Sure.
Because also, to be honest with you, Kyle, there are guys who are not even signed right now that, in my opinion, can be more productive than what most of these guys can be. Jack Roslovic is still available in free agency. And Jack Roslovic is a decent player, no? I mean,
if you're comparing it to at least 4 of the 5 here, one being
4 of the 5,
then yes, 100%.
Max Pacioretty as well is still available, and I mean,
guys, yeah.
Yeah, there are guys out there. So I don't know. I would say no. Personally, it's not. And also, again, not every team is going to be interested because also they may just seriously not have a reason to do so. They may not have a roster spot that they need, right? So I don't think Calgary. I don't believe Calgary.
They wouldn't sniff it. They wouldn't sniff it because, well, for one, their goaltending situation is fine, and for the forward group, they already have a good depth of prospects that they would rather work with. So,
sure. And,
there's no way they would even consider this, right?
And don't be surprised if a lot of these guys, if they sign with American teams.
Sure.
Because I don't know if they would, because I think it would be a lot different if it was up in they were playing for a Canadian team.
So before I'll say my piece, but for Alex Fermenton, I believe he will probably end up in Europe again. I believe guys like Calfoot, Dylan Dubé, and possibly Michael McLeod more than likely end up in a minor league system, being AHL type. If even that's something they are willing to explore, right? Then
when they sign and play with an AHL team right away,
they would probably have to wait because they would have to wait till October 15th.
That's what I'm saying. Well, what I'm saying is does the suspension of not being able
to, whatever an AHL team it is, they're the farm. It goes through the farm teams, but ultimately it goes through the the team, which is never publicized
Right. But what I'm
regardless.
saying is like, can they sign on October 15th, excuse me, and then play AHL games until December 15th? Like, or is it just like you can't play any
Specifically,
sort of
can't be in the NHL. I would imagine that it's probably the same scenario too in the AHL and the ECHL.
okay, fair enough.
Yeah,
Got it. All right.
that would be
I
my
was trying to figure out if it's like you can't play at all. Like you can't even go down to the minors and play. You have to wait this out.
right.
Yeah, I was
Well, it would
wondering.
be strictly with the NHL, blah, 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 blah. NHLPA pleased for players. So the players met with league officials after the ruling and expressed regret and remorse. The NHL said keeping them from playing until December 1st brings their total time away to nearly 2 years. So the NHLPA in a statement said it was pleased Dubé, Foote, Fermenton, Hart, and McLeod are getting the opportunity to resume their careers. From the Superior Court, Justice Maria Caraccia, excuse me, the players cooperated with every investigation upon their full acquittal by the Superior Court. Sorry, from the Justice Maria there who oversaw the case. They continue by saying we initiated discussions with the NHL regarding the players' return to work to avoid a protracted dispute that would cause further delay. We reached the resolution that the league announced today. We now consider the matter closed and look forward to the players' return.
Interesting. And I think also I just wanted to say really quickly before I let you,
Yeah.
I apologize. It's just that I think I don't, and maybe I missed it, but I remember that the NHL had said that they would not release their own findings because they did their own investigation. People forget the NHL did their own investigation and they got results of it, and they said they wouldn't share it until they got the announcement from what the trial was going to be.
Yeah. Nor is it legal, nor could they.
Maybe at this point, maybe the court said you can't share.
There's no way they
the
would let
findings.
them do that. They could,
Or maybe the findings were similar to what the court
if
found.
it was similar, like there's no point in releasing it.
There's no point in releasing it because it'll just be the same thing.
Correct.
And you could just put out a very quick statement from the NHL being like, our investigation showed exactly what the court also showed. And that, and I think that's it. I mean, it does feel like, though, that a lot of due diligence was done by many people in this situation. It does feel that way a little bit to me.
So I followed it for quite a while until there was that lull period, and then they eventually went into the trial, and the whole trial happened, right? So, like, I said it at the beginning, and I'll say it again. Whenever the allegations first came out, it's a lose-lose situation, right? The only win, the only scenario in which justice gets served is if the players were found guilty and everything that EM was saying was true, right? That is the only way you find a win in this bizarre scenario, right? Everything else about it is lose-lose. Nobody comes out of this on top, and frankly, nobody should, right? Because and like frankly, like how many times have I heard already where it's like, oh well, if you're found not guilty, it doesn't mean you still didn't do it. Fair, absolutely fair, right? I don't think the players or EM here in this situation put themselves in the best position possible, right? Throughout that night. Like as I'm putting my parent shoes on here for a second, 8, 9, 10 guys in one room versus one girl, probably not the best situation to be in, especially after you've gone out and had some drinks. You're asking for something bad to happen.
And that to me is much more on Michael McLeod because he was reportedly the ringleader of this whole thing.
He was absolutely the ringleader on this. So it's not like you're right. It's definitely like it's uncomfortable, right? To see these guys back because I'm in no way saying that they're off scotch-free and there were still things in my eyes, at least in my belief, that there were probably events that took place there that, we've made mistakes in our lives and I'm sure that they regret. And I'm sure there was kind of regret all the way around, right? I'm still willing to believe that there was still things that happened that really shouldn't be shared to the light,
Agreed.
But ultimately I'm actually sort of glad that the judge was the only one who was the one able to make the decision Fermenton's lawyer decided that he needed to go ahead and be stupid and piss off the entire jury, and that's why they got all thrown out, because Fermenton's lawyer was such an idiot, and it pissed me off that he was making a joke out of it. So that's a whole other thing, but it was ridiculous.
Yeah,
So
that was bad.
it was just stupid, and ultimately he should have been thrown off the case too, because it was rude and ridiculous what he was doing.
Agreed.
So, but
Agreed.
at the end of the day, the judge found that there was too many inconsistencies, and it sounded very formal right from the beginning that there was too many inconsistencies, and the one thing it came down to was consent, and there was nothing that ultimately came with it. And there was nothing that really showcased enough evidence to support the claim that there wasn't
There
consent.
wasn't.
There wasn't any. So, for everybody out there, and I might get reamed for this, but I'll say it anyway. A lot of the fans out there too in NHL land, a lot of the female fans out there, clearly supportive of EM. Fair.
Right.
I get it. But when it comes out that you pretty much didn't have an accurate story and subsequently threw out these allegations, which automatically destroyed these guys' careers.
Sure.
Yes, you have to live with the fact that you were in that situation, but these guys' lives were also destroyed too. Everybody lost in this. Every single person lost in this, right?
Right. True.
And so that's why I think it was so intriguing to see what was going to happen, right? So I hate it sucks, and it's a really awkward situation here, but I'm okay with seeing these guys play. And mind you, I'm also in the same boat where I think Carter Hart might be the only guy who comes to light and might sign with the team. The other guys, it's going to be a tough road back for them. But I think they at least should be given the opportunity. And you have to put faith in the judicial system, because what else are you going to put your faith in to make the right or wrong choices when big things like this happen? You need to put your faith in it. And in this case, you have to put your faith in it, and the matter is truly closed. The one last thing I'll say about the case alone, and the biggest thing why these guys really should be allowed to play, is this. When the verdict was announced, right, the opposition, or no, sorry, the prosecutors, my bad.
Oh, yes.
Prosecutors had 1 month to rebuttal and decide if they wanted to go back at this, because they didn't like the fact that they were found not guilty. They had a whole month, and they didn't choose to.
Nope.
So EM and the lawyers said, no, we are going to live with this decision. And at that moment, the case is closed. Now, everybody's going to have to live with this for the rest of their lives. And frankly, I'm okay with these guys getting a chance. But whatever team decides to sign any of these guys, they have to understand the repercussions of what's going to come.
1,000%.
Because ultimately, you are showing face as a league. You are allowing this, and I think they should be allowed to. But the teams that are interested, you have to be prepared for the repercussions that will come with it. And you wonder, as time goes on, what that begins to look like. And, there's people who aren't going to like it. I'm not going to say much. I think everybody deserves a second chance. And I think these guys they've gone through they've followed through with all the investigations as it was quoted down below. So I think they absolutely deserve a second chance. Whether it gets far or not, that's soon to be seen. But it's going to be very fascinating to watch as the months and the years go on, is that when it happens, what's the time period going to look like when it can finally dissipate and these guys can kind of go back to their normal lives? And hopefully EM can also go back to her normal life as well too, knowing that the case is closed. So it's tough. I understand that. It's a difficult conversation to have. I think it was one that was it just needs to be talked about more, because we need to, figure out the right ways to move forward here. I understand people are not going to like the decision for these guys to be allowed to come back,
Yep.
but I think it was the right move. I think these guys deserve a chance to at least attempt to resurrect their careers. And if you don't like it, then that's just on you at the end of the day.
Sure.
Like, they've gone through all the legal matters, and that's something that you have to have faith in as a society. So it sucks, and I hate to be the one that says it, but I think these guys deserve a chance.
It's just, yeah, like you said, I think you really did nail it on the head. Nobody is winning in this situation, regardless of anything, because at the end of the day, these players lost 2 years at that point, 2 years of playing pro hockey.
Yeah.
2 years that they're not going to get back. And again, they're getting older. And they're not super old. It's not like in their mid 30s, but that's going to be one of the factors that's going to come into play when signing them.
Yeah.
Can they, and look, you can sign them and you could have them play in the AHL. And if they don't show signs of being able to contribute, well, you can then just you could just cut them.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like you have to pay them you think any of these guys are going to demand a lot of money? No. Like, none of them, they're going to take, honest to God, they'll probably take league minimum, most of them. Maybe not Carter Hart, but
they want to get an opportunity to play.
They just want an opportunity, right? And I think that the players' agents already know and are prepared for in the next month that they're going to get offers. I think they know that.
For sure.
So it'll be really interesting to see how that goes. And yeah, I mean, you mentioned it. I don't want to say this would be a PR nightmare to sign one of these guys, but I think if you're playing,
be a PR nightmare.
I think your plan though has to be, if you are deciding even now that you are going to attempt to sign one of these guys, you have to have a plan for how you're going to attack this publicly. You're going to have to. You can't just sign and then figure it out as you go. You have to be prepared to answer every single question. If you're the GM of a team and even the owner to an extent, you have to face the music. You have to be there, press conference, all of that, because you have to, and you have to do it, and you have to live with that. You have to live with that, and it's not gonna please everybody.
No,
especially on the female side, it's not going to.
No,
it will not.
It won't.
And that's the thing here. So I do believe in second chances, and at the end of the day, the people that really know what went on that night are the players and EM.
In that room, they all know what went down.
They know, and they all of them together made stupid decisions that night. 1,000%.
That's what gets lost in this. Honestly,
right.
It's not one side or the other. It was collectively. Everybody made a wrong decision that night.
Sure. And that's really what it's going to come down to. And like you said, the hope is that you hope that the players and EM can eventually get to a point where they can, I don't want to say the word like move on, but really try to move on from this.
That's just it. But
you can't.
Case is closed. You've got to try. You have to in life.
You have to try. Yes.
You've got to move on. Last thing I'll say is this, and again, I might get reamed for it, but I think it's true. Her name, thank God, is still covered and will be forever.
Sure.
Thank God that's the case, because if it was out there, I think it would be much, much worse, right?
For her, yeah, 100%.
These guys are going to be in the eyes of the public, and they have been for the last 2 years anyway.
Yeah.
Which isn't saying much, but she, thank God her name's not out there, and she can hopefully move on, and hopefully she's okay from this.
Yeah.
It just also sucks for the guys here that even though maybe some decisions were maybe wrong that night, their names are out there and they're full face and into the public, and they're going to have to live. They are going to have to live with the repercussions, though. They may have been found not guilty, but they are going to live with the fact that this is something that did indeed happen, where they were clearly not put in the best position. There were text messages that were released because they were all worried, right? So clearly there were some things that happened, but to be found not guilty showed that you have to have faith in the judicial system and allow these guys the opportunity to move on.
You do
Because
have to have faith.
if she's gonna move along now that it's all closed, you have to allow these guys to do the same thing. And if this is the path that they choose, it's something that we're gonna have to live with.
Sure. And
So
yeah, it's going to be.
yeah, it's gonna be
interesting.
very.
You know what I hate though? I'll just, the last thing I'll say here, the thing I hate the most is I don't like that NHL Media Day was the last couple of days and they chose to announce this after that was all done so that nobody had to speak to the public about it.
Sure.
I hate
listen,
that.
The NHL's not perfect either, man. Like that's, I wonder why they did that, right? Like
no, and it bugs me because and I'll tell you why. If Gary Bettman and co stepped up to the microphone
Bill Daly
and faced the music with this, I'm just saying, if they just
now they're going to soon.
Yeah, but I'd rather they had done it like right away and stand and be there for this, because I think that it would have at least given a lot of people at least something to say, okay, so the NHL announced it and they were willing to discuss it to the extent that they can legally, because obviously I'm sure there's things they cannot discuss.
Sure.
But to even just have a press conference or just, something I think would have been helpful in this process.
Here's the kicker, though. Out of all of this, here's the kicker. What happened to Kyle Beach? Kind of went quiet, didn't it? And that's me speaking towards Gary Bettman, Bill Daly, and all that. They're going to take shots, but eventually what's going to happen here is this will go away.
It will.
And they know that. It's going to be, listen, this isn't going to be coming from Gary Bettman or Bill Daly. It's going to come from the media. How much are they going to be willing to press on this matter if and when somebody decides to sign with a team here on October 15th?
Sure.
It's the media that's ultimately going to decide how long they're going to drag the NHL through the mud on this.
I see it where someone's going to get signed. We'll have a press conference. We'll talk about it. Maybe it'll be discussed for another week or so. Maybe it'll be discussed again at a different time if and when a player comes up to the NHL. But once we I'll tell you this, Kyle, by this time next year, people will have forgotten about it. Truly, they will have forgotten about it.
Yep.
And that's like you said, that's the kicker. That's the most unfortunate thing, is that in many ways, you want to use these kind of situations as a lesson to learn from everybody. And unfortunately, it's not going to be kept around for very long. And people are going to end up making similar mistakes like this that obviously won't be even in the public for whatever reason. And you don't want to say, oh, things go back to normal, but that's essentially what's going to happen, right? I think that's what, we're all just going to, we're all victims of we're all, accused of this. Eventually we stop thinking about it and talking about it because it no longer becomes a relevant conversation to have. And that until the next one drops, right? Until the next one drops, and then we're here again talking about whatever had happened, right? And I think that's kind of the thing here with this. So again, nobody's winning here.
No, but it's hard for people to accept the fact that these guys are found not guilty, and they're given every right to come back and try to make amends for their not make amends, but just resurrect their careers.
Yeah, and like you said, man,
that's the world we live in, man. Like you might not like it, but that's the world we live in.
And again, like you said, the thing about it is that the only way that everybody would have been on the same boat with this truly is if they were found guilty. If they were found guilty with everything that was being accused and all of that, then everybody would be, in the same agreement, and it still wouldn't be brought up after a year. I think
Right.
it would actually, people would forget about it in a week from now. If that's what the verdict was, we would have forgotten about it by now.
I think we would be having a whole different conversation for sure.
Exactly.
For sure.
Exactly.
But
And I think also,
yeah. Go ahead.
I was going to say really quickly that I think also Hockey Canada has been dealing with a lot of problems of late. And I think that
Statement.
that's another avenue that people like. I think because, the majority of the teams are, in the NHL are in.
However,
Yeah.
the incident that took place isn't on Hockey Canada.
No.
Because it's the own players that made the decision. So they were just a part of the team at the time.
True. But you think about some of the things that have happened with Hockey Canada over the last year or two.
Yes.
Since they were a part of a junior team at that time, I'm sure Hockey Canada was like, this is the last thing that we need
now.
Right now.
And now what they've done is they've completely revamped the board of directors,
which is good.
Which they've now changed because a change needed to be done, and I'm glad they kind of took that initiative because they needed to, right? Yeah. So,
and you mentioned the Kyle Beach thing. I just want to reiterate. Let's think of I'm going to add another layer to that. There are two individuals that were very much involved in this that are now both back in the NHL doing their thing. Joel Quenneville.
Yep.
And Stan Bowman.
Yep.
Guess what? As you just mentioned, nobody is talking about it anymore. No one's going to talk about Joel Quenneville.
Nope.
And what happened, because now they can just focus on, what he's doing with the Ducks.
That to me is the biggest thing in all of this, right? You want to talk about these players and them being found, they were all found not guilty. How about the two guys that are still coaching and GM in the league? And they played a massive factor in the fact that Kyle Beach, what happened to him? And they're still allowed coaching and GM, and nobody's batting an eye.
Yeah.
That's the fucked up part about all this, is that everybody's got their eyes on these players, but the two guys that actually contributed to what happened to Kyle Beach and Black Ace, number one, they're still in the league, and nobody bats an eye about it.
It's almost like, for a lot of people, they'll look at it as like a, slap on the wrist, like, oh, bad boy.
Money. At the end of the day, he was hush money. He told him to shut up, and he did.
And I think that that's kind of the thing with this, is that within a year, people are going to forget. They're going to think about these players. A lot of people are going to think about these players just from performance standpoint. People have conversations about, oh, this guy sucks. This guy, you know what I mean? And people will forget. People will stop caring, unfortunately. And they will stop caring until the next thing happens. And people say, well, you shouldn't have that mindset that something else is going to. I don't want to have that mindset, but guess what? In the history of in mankind, that is what's happening. It happens all the time. You cannot.
And we know that, and listen, we know this with the NHL. Unless something like I've said it, and this is a little bit off, not super off topic, but it drives home my point here, right? As soon as somebody dies from a skate cut to the neck, then they're going to tell people, you know what? I think it's mandatory to have neck guards on. Like that. Like that's what I'm saying. Like, what's going to happen when? I think if we don't ever have this, obviously, but if another Kyle Beach incident happens, right?
Yep.
And something horrible comes from it where he's no longer with us anymore.
Sure.
Then what? Right? That only then do they decide that they need to make a decision, right? And that's what needs to be and that's what needs to be learned here. But with finishing up with these 5 players, it's different because they've gone through the entire process, right? You go back to Quenneville and the Wirtz family there in Chicago. The only thing that really happened was that, Wirtz stepped down. That was the only thing that came out of it, was the fact that he stepped down.
Then he died, didn't he?
Yes, he then died, and his son took his place, which I'm going to call it better. But the 2 other people that were big contributors are still in the league. Like, that's the kicker of all of this, right?
Right.
So They didn't even go through any of this. The fact that the players did, and they did so cooperatively, and they were found not guilty, gives you more reason to say, give them that chance to go back and try to resurrect whatever's left of their career, man.
And you're talking about, from the Kyle Beach perspective, you're talking about two guys that were truly found guilty of what they were accused of.
It came out. It all came out.
It all came out. There's nothing, they couldn't hide from it, right? So that's the big difference, right? They got, it's going to be, it's on their record. It's literally, we know their names. We know what happened. That's what it is now. That is what it is. With these players, they were found not guilty in the eyes of the,
though, where we pretty much, well, I shouldn't say that. The only guys that know what happened were in that room. So
sure.
Obviously,
but if we're going to go off of the information that was given to us, right?
To the public, yes.
To the public, that's how we can, that's the only way that we can go about this.
Yeah.
We can't go about it and be like, we act like we know what happened that night, truly, because we don't, we weren't there. At the end of the day, this was a very bad situation where young men saw, and I'm going to call them men because a lot of them, you know, in the eyes of the law,
they were, yeah.
Eyes of the law, that's what they were, made a very stupid and young decision that many people do that we don't even know about, that don't get put in the public eye. And it is such an incredibly unfortunate situation for every single person involved in this. Nobody wins no matter what. No matter how much success any of these players potentially could, you know, get if they play in the NHL again, will ever erase what happened in that situation, because that will live with them, and they have to deal with that. They have to deal with that. And you do have to give credit where credit is due to the players, that they were very cooperative through this entire process, because I think that was the game plan going into it, that especially if these lawyers and the players knew that we have a strong case here in general, that there's no reason to be, you know, ruffling any feathers. You guys should, and I think I even read in The Athletic, I think even one of the lawyers said, look, guys, you just tell them what happened. Like, just do it, because you're not, because it's, you know, that's what it is.
And if guys are like, you know, if guys are worried about, you know, we'll take Carter Hart as an example, as the prime example here of somebody who could potentially make a return, right? You know, the guys in the locker room and the coaches, right? Like, they're going to tell him, like, dude, you're just here to play hockey, you know?
We do not. Yeah.
Right. Like, there's shit that we've all made mistakes in life. Players have made mistakes and that's never, sometimes some of that shit will never come to life. So for those guys, it's don't listen to the outside noise. Just come in and play hockey. That's all we're trying to do here.
Come in and do your job, and there will be no, and in the locker room and with the coaching staff and players, there will be no issue. That's essentially it. And like, that sounds like,
and it's not on the players. And now, as soon as that case was closed, it's not on the players anymore, right?
Yeah. And the players don't have to speak if they don't want to.
And they're going to have to deal with the repercussions from the noise on the outside, from the fans. Sure. But inside the locker room with the coaches, with the players, you're just here to play, man.
Right. And I think that they know that. And I think that a lot of the players in the league, I think there's definitely going to be some uncomfortability with these players at first. Yeah. But I think over time, especially if they, you know, just get acclimated to the team and everything, I think it'll go a long way. And for the fans, it'll never go away. That's the thing. For the fans, it just won't go away. For a lot of, especially for a lot of female fans, it will not go away. It just will not. And I saw many, I'm telling you, Kyle, and I'm sure you saw, I saw many different posts and tweets about this, especially from the female fans saying, if my team, whatever team they're a fan of, if my team signs one of these 5 players, I am done being a fan of thus and so team. What also upset me about it was then there was the male individuals that decided to be a good time to say good or like good riddance, we don't need you. And it's just like, this is one of the great issues with social media, is that all it's going to do is it's just going to create even more discontent between people. And
like that's and that's why social media, in my eyes, sucks.
Yeah,
right?
and I would say
you can use it the right way, and you can use it the wrong way too for a lot of wrong reasons, right?
And I would go ahead.
I mean, with what happened, I won't get into it, but with what happened in the U.S. last week, I think it just showcases why you just sometimes you need to stay off the internet.
Sometimes it's better to just go and touch grass, people. That's the way that I would say. And I would say to anybody who has said that if their respective team signs one of these 5 players and you don't want to be a fan of them anymore, like, I get it. I get it
too.
I get it.
And that's your decision
at the end of the day. And that's your decision at the end of the day. And no one can tell you, no one can force you to do anything that you don't want to do. At the end of the day, that's your choice. And I am not going to sit there and judge anybody if they do one thing or the other, because we are all human beings with the ability to choose. Not everybody gets that choice, ladies and gentlemen. Not everybody gets that choice. And that's the big thing here. And I will support whatever decision those people make, because I get it from both sides. I get it. And I totally understand it, because, again, nobody is going to win in this situation no matter what happens moving forward. Carter Hart could go to a team and he could be the catalyst for a Stanley Cup winner, right? Just as a thing. It's not like Carter Hart. Yeah, it's not like Carter Hart, all of a sudden, everything that happened, he's never gonna remember it again. No, like, it's going to always be part of his life. At the end of the day. And the same goes for all of those players. It just won't go away. Right. And they have to live with that. And I'm sure that through this whole process, they've understood that, like, this is what we have to deal with the rest of our lives.
I think, though, they know that at some point when they're old and gray, like, it will dissipate. Like, it will go. The only time, and we're definitely going to see a documentary about this.
Oh, 1,000%. You don't think that this is not 100%.
It'll go away when these guys aren't playing hockey anymore, right?
And people will forget who they are.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's just it. So, tough conversation, but I think one that was needed. So, good stuff. And we're just going to follow along with it, right? And we do it because we love hockey.
We do.
Right. And that's why we do this. Right. And that's why we go into the year with, being fortunate that we're still able to watch and play the sport that we all grew up loving. Right.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where we're at. So anyway, it's
and Kirill Kaprizov is at where he doesn't want $14 million a year. So, I know what to tell you.
I heard 16.
Well, 16 now. You know what? At this point, give him a max contract that LeBron James has. At this point, you might as well.
Kaprizov's going to go to a big market. You watch. Big market.
I'm thinking the Rangers.
Market. Oh, yeah. That smells like
it's got to be, right? I would love to see him on a random-ass team. I'd love it.
It'll be like an LA type move. It'll be a Rangers type move. Like, it'll be a big
Vegas will find some really stupid way to make it work.
Probably.
Dude.
They'll find a way for him to get into a big
market. And that's a whole other conversation for another day.
Might be sooner rather than later, because I don't know what
maybe he gets traded. Maybe he gets traded before we know it. Maybe he becomes the catalyst for I don't even know. And it's at the end, like you said, Kyle, just to kind of wrap it up again. At the end of the day, like, we are fans of this sport, and I think it wouldn't be right if we didn't talk about these things, because I get it.
We need to have it out,
I know for me, with Devil's State of Mind, I'm going to talk about it. Maybe not at the same length that we talked about it today, but I'm going to just talk about it and just be very fair about the fact that, like, look, it's a lose situation no matter how you look at it.
Yeah.
And, that's where I'm at. So, but, and you hope, as human beings, you hope that you hear less and less. You hope that these type of things happen less and less.
Of course.
But the very hard truth is that it won't. It won't be like that. And especially with what happened last week in this country, that kind of thing, it's not the last time. Very unfortunately, it will never be the last time. And that is the unfortunate world that we live in. But one of the greatest things that we have, especially in North America, is the ability to do things like this and to talk about things like this and to watch things like in sports.
Yes.
Where even for maybe a couple of hours, it can be escape for somebody, right? And but when things like this come out, where the sport you love and something very serious like this come together, it
makes it ugly, man.
It brings everything to reality, right? At the end of the day, that these people are human beings. They're not robots, and they are capable of making horrible decisions like this.
Politics and sports are a really bad mix. Politics and sports, and when you get to serious issues like that, it's a bad mix, right? Like, we can only hope that throughout the season this year, we just, we wanted to highlight it, we wanted to touch upon it, but we're looking forward to a great year up ahead. That's all we can do, right? It's just look forward to a great year and have
Wednesday can't come soon enough, right?
Exactly. So that's how I wanted to end it, though, because we did need to talk about it. But yeah, camp opens up on Wednesday. Really excited. Preseason is going to get underway here. We're going to see some young guys hopefully step up and make some big moves and, maybe make the team, and should make things for an interesting conversation down the line. But we are, believe it or not, like, we're 3 weeks away, three and a half weeks away from season opener.
Jesus.
Ben
we are right there, people, aren't we?
He needs to do something about the schedule. I think actually the cup's going to be awarded earlier on in June, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe so. I believe the first week of June. I think that was their plan.
Thank God. Thank God. I got to the point in June. Fuck, I was so tired.
But you know what? that means that teams should get a little bit more time to rest before you jump right into the draft. Just saying. Would like that.
And a lot of guys are saying to go back to the 1v8 format too, but that's a conversation for a whole other.
Oh, that's another. Who was it recently? Was it Cale Makar that said that?
It was Makar. It was Makar who said it. Former free agent for the Flames in 2027. Come home.
Wait, really? I didn't even know that. That's actually nuts.
Everybody's been trying to ploy
him. He's
from Calgary, and like, if you find a way to like make it work, it'd be crazy. But we'll see. All right, that'll wrap it up here.
By the way, here's something really funny that I'll just mention really quickly. Ilya Kovalchuk, who retired from hockey.
Yes.
He actually got put on IR today by the Devils because they still own his rights. So they actually saved money for now, which is hilarious.
That's stupid.
I don't like this. I don't like that the Sharks traded for Carey Price's contract for nothing just because they needed to get to the salary cap floor. Do you know how much you're not spending if you're worried about not spending enough in terms of it's nuts.
Right. I'm just trying to look here real quick. I won't share the page, but I'm just on Cap Friendly because I want to see if they actually did that.
I think at least someone just said it to me, but I could be wrong about that because his contract did come up at the end of this summer. So I'm wondering to myself, like, how could he be put on IR if his contract was already up? He's not even a member of the Devils.
Sure.
So I
don't see anything recently about. Yeah, I don't see anything recently about it, but probably a buyout would be my guess. So that's funny.
Well, they bought out his contract, so.
Yeah. Alrighty. That'll wrap it up. Neil will be away next Monday as he's in Vegas. Enjoy Vegas.
If I jump on, I'll let you know. Okay. I'll keep you posted.
And I'll be here. We'll break down what's happening at training camp so far, and we're inching closer to the start of the season, boys. So
let's go, baby.
Good stuff today. Great takes. Good stuff as always. And safe travels next week. And we'll catch up on Monday with some training camp news and some stupid takes and crazy predictions. We'll go from there.
There you go.
All right. Good stuff, guys. Talk to you next week, and have a good rest of the week. Later.
Later, guys.